On August 2nd, 1947, a British airliner called Stardust left Buenos Aires for Santiago. It was not a long flight. Less than 4 hours separated the two cities. But between them stood the Andes, a wall of rock, snow, cloud and wind, where a small error in position could become fatal within seconds. Stardust was an Avro-Lancastrian, a passenger aircraft developed from the Lancaster bomber. It belonged to British South American Airways, one of the airlines helping reconnect the world after the Second World War. On board were 11 people, 6 passengers and 5 crew. One passenger was a British diplomatic courier, a detail that would later feed rumours about secret papers and political cargo, though no evidence ever proved anything beyond ordinary diplomatic transport. The captain, Reginald Cook, was a qualified aviator, but the official investigation later noted that this was his first trans-Andean flight in command. That mattered. This route was not just about keeping an aircraft in the air, it was about knowing exactly where you were before descending into Chile. At 1741, Santiago received a message from Stardust. The aircraft gave its estimated arrival time as 1745, 4 minutes away. Then came the final word: Stendec. The radio operator did not understand it, so he asked the aircraft to repeat. The same word came back twice more: Stendec, Stendec. Then Stardust was gone. Searches began quickly, but the Andes are not a simple place to search. Snow can cover wreckage almost immediately. Cloud can hide entire slopes from the air. A glacier can swallow metal, clothing, luggage, and bodies before search crews even know where to begin. No clear trace was found. The aircraft had been close to Santiago. Its final message had sounded calm, and yet nothing arrived out of the mountains. That silence turned an aviation accident into something larger. Without wreckage, every theory had room to breathe. The post-war world was already full of suspicion. The presence of a diplomatic courier gave the story a darker edge in the public imagination. Some wondered whether Stardust had carried sensitive documents. Others suggested sabotage, espionage, or a forced landing. The theories grew because the physical evidence was missing. But one detail was not missing: Stendec. The word became the centre of the case. It looked deliberate. It sounded like a code. It had been sent 3 times, which made it harder to dismiss. If it had been heard only once, perhaps it could have been ignored as a mistake. Repeated 3 times, it felt like a message. One theory says it was connected to the word descent. The letters are almost the same, and the idea is unsettling because descent may have been the decision that ended the flight. If the crew believed they had crossed the highest peaks, they may have started descending towards Santiago too early. But that theory has never been proven. A professional crew would not normally send the word descent in that way, and it does not explain why they received the word Stendec every time. Another explanation lies in Morse code. The Santiago operator said the signal was clear but very fast. In Morse, spacing matters. If letters are grouped wrongly, a normal message can become something strange. Stendec may have been created by speed, rhythm, and human error. The likely explanation for the crash begins with wind. In 1947, powerful high-altitude winds around the Andes were not understood with the precision they are today. A plane could be moving through the air at one speed while making much slower progress over the ground. If the crew calculated their position using an incorrect ground speed, they could believe they were farther west than they truly were. That may be what happened to Stardust. The crew thought they had cleared the dangerous part of the Andes and were approaching Santiago. They reported an arrival time only minutes away. Then they began the final stage of the flight, expecting the land beneath them to drop toward Chile. But Mount Tupungato was still ahead, hidden inside cloud. For more than half a century, that remained only a theory. Then, in 1998, two Argentine mountaineers climbing near Mount Tupungato found pieces of aircraft wreckage emerging from the ice. Later, searchers found more debris, including engine parts, clothing, and human remains. Stardust had finally been located. The aircraft had struck the mountain and been buried inside a glacier. That explained why the original search had failed. The wreckage had not been lying open on a slope. It had been sealed beneath snow and ice, slowly carried by the glacier until pieces began to reappear decades later. The discovery ended the wildest theories. Stardust had not been secretly landed, stolen, or hidden by spies. It had crashed into Mount Tupungato. The accident was probably controlled flight into terrain, where an aircraft under control is flown into ground or mountains because the crew do not realize the danger in time. That possibility is especially cruel. The plane may not have been in obvious trouble. The crew may have believed they were close to landing. The passengers may have been thinking about Santiago, about hotel rooms, meetings, letters, or family waiting on the other side of the mountains. Then, the cloud became rock. The Stardust mystery is unusual because the main disappearance has been solved, but the detail everyone remembers remains open. The wreckage tells us where the aircraft ended. The mountain explains why it stayed hidden. Wind, cloud, position, and descent offer a likely chain of events. But Stendec still sits apart from the physical evidence. It may have been a Morse error. It may have been a confused version of another word. It may have been connected to descent. It may have meant something ordinary to the radio operator on board, something that died with the crew before anyone else could understand it. There is also a colder possibility. Stendec may have meant very little. A rushed signal, a copied mistake, a small communication error made famous only because it happened at the end. People want final words to carry meaning. We look for warnings, codes, and hidden truths because the alternatives feel too ordinary. But disaster does not always announce itself. Sometimes it arrives at the end of a routine message, when everyone still thinks there are 4 minutes left. Stardust was found in the ice, but Stendec was not solved with it. What do you think that final word really meant?